Good morning. My name is Revd Dr Samantha Gillard, and I am one of the ministers within the Northampton Methodist Circuit. On this third Sunday of Easter, we continue to piece together the narratives to the witnesses of the risen Jesus Christ. A picture that only becomes clear when you put together the four Gospels. In Matthew, the angel says to the women, "Do not be afraid. He is not here. He has risen, just as he said." Then in Mark's Gospel, we hear the same message. He is risen. He is not here. Then in John's Gospel, we learn of Mary's encounter with Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. How she only believed he had risen when he called her by name, Mary. Later in the same chapter, it recalls how the disciples had fished all night on the Sea of Galilee, but caught nothing. And then how they only recognized the man on the seashore as Jesus, when he said to them, "Throw your nets on the other side." Our reading today is from Luke's Gospel, chapter 24, where earlier on in this chapter, we read how Jesus walked with the two disciples on the road to Emmaus. How their hearts burned as he spoke to them, but they only recognized him when he took the bread, gave thanks, and broke it, and gave it to them. Our verses 36 to 48 describe how Jesus suddenly stood among them while they were still talking and said, "Peace be with you," and showed them his wounds. In each of these witness accounts to the risen Jesus emerges common themes. How in spite of the fact that Jesus had told them what would happen, they had not believed. And initially that they failed to recognize the risen Jesus Christ. Imagine for a moment being in that room with the disciples. Sense their astonishment that whilst they were still talking, suddenly Jesus was among them. Then step back for a moment and think about the words that Jesus said. "Peace be with you." Then he went on to say, "Why are you troubled? Why do doubts rise in your mind?" The startled disciples first needed to hear Jesus' gift of peace, a peace that only God can give, a peace that Jesus had promised to them that they would receive on the way to Jerusalem. A peace that he said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not fear." John chapter 14. A peace that was available for the disciples then, and a peace that is available for us today. The risen Jesus Christ had fulfilled his promises he had made. He had risen from the dead. He had brought peace and hope, which in turn answered their unbelief. It is our human nature to have doubts and questions about God. Yet our reading from Luke reveals how Jesus graciously responded to their unbelief with the invitation to look at my hands and feet. He said, "It is I. Touch me and see." He encouraged them to recall all that he said while he was among them, but also to search the scriptures as he encourages us to do the same today. He said, "Everything must be fulfilled that is written about me in the laws of Moses, the prophets, and the Psalms." Today we have that same invitation to meet the risen Jesus Christ, who stood among the disciples in that room, who welcomes all and graciously hears us even with our unbelief. The open invitation is to ask and it will be given to you, to seek and you will find, to knock and the door will be opened. For everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks, the door will be open. Our question then to reflect on today is whether we come with our hearts open to meet the risen Jesus Christ in all the mystery of faith and lay down our unbelief. It is taking this step of faith that we encounter God's gracious love, a love which is unconditional and transformative for all. This is a message of assurance and hope, life eternal, brought alive today through the eyewitness accounts of the disciples, who responded to Jesus' invitation to look, to believe, and then went on to proclaim the good news to all. What is left is how we respond to the call of Jesus to look and see and believe. That is what we are called to reflect on today. Amen. God bless.